boy? How much do you know about him? Plenty.
Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast. I'm your host, Cyril Gerald Quinn. Episode 921 overall of the Real Deal podcast as I continue to look at seasons 1 through 3 of the hit series, FX series Snowfall. We are now up to episode 9, season 2, Aftermath, the penultimate episode of this season. Another tremendous episode. We begin with a quick recap. Avi, meets the Colombians. Lucille and Oso go free, and Franklin contemplates his future. Themes of this episode: consequences, and guilt. We see Franklin, Teddy, and Lucille kind of have to deal with the consequences of their choices over the course of this season, and probably even you go back to even season 1 as well, but in particular this season, all three of those characters, in essence, had someone close to them either lost or affected by decisions that they've made during this particular season. So consequences and guilt are the themes, were the themes of this particular episode. We begin with the deep dive. We deep dive the Franklin, and I apologize for misspelling Franklin. There's no way I should misspell that name, but for those of you that know me, but we deep dive Franklin and Sissy. This final scene of the episode, because of course I could have put it in the best scenes, but such a tremendous scene between these two characters who, if you watch the show over the course of 6 seasons, had just beautiful chemistry as mother and son, with Michael Hyatt and Damson Idris. And listen, is Sissy did in this particular scene what probably any mother that cares about their son would have done. She, of course, told the cops. She wanted Franklin to be safe, possibly going to jail, then on the run, which he was. And of course, she, with the help of Andre, who knew that Franklin would come home, rather than just flat out run away to Louisiana, which was the initial plan with that was enacted by one Louis and Louis. He comes home. He is obviously has no idea what is about to happen, and he is willing to, in essence, give up everything in order to have a life with Sissy and her be a part of his life like it once was. The thing about it is, as we all know, in this game, once you're in, there's basically no way out, minus jail or imminent death. So that wasn't going to happen, and it doesn't happen on this occasion. It didn't happen in this scene as he's arrested. He, of course, is has a murder hit. A murderer. He's now, considered a murderer as he, has shot and killed Kevin. Though, he wasn't, wasn't aware initially that after he shot Kevin, he wasn't aware initially that he had killed Kevin. But now we found out in this episode, of course, that Kevin, we officially found out. We even knew it beforehand. Even the first time you saw this, you knew that Kevin probably didn't survive that shot from the previous episode. But officially, we find out in this episode that Kevin has died, and Franklin, of course, has that running over his head as a murder, as being a murderer, and he's arrested. The cops are waiting for him, and it's a decision that, again, though hard decision for Sissy, was not something that I'm sure did. No, it wasn't as hard as you may think it was going to be, considering the alternative choices that she, especially there's the only choice that she had. There's the only way that she felt like she could say, in essence, save his life. And you see, I mean, again, over the course of this episode, Damson Idris was spectacular. We'll talk more about that as this podcast moves along, especially in regards to the MVP. But this relationship, the mother son relationship definitely is one that's could be similar, or you compare it to the father daughter relationship. There's just something that is cannot keep a mother away from her son, and in essence, a son is always going to come back to his mother. So you saw that in depthly in this particular scene, that no matter how far he had gone off the reservation as a drug dealer, drug kingpin, and really had been dealing with Sissy for the past few months or so, he in essence, once he sees that his world is collapsing with the murder of Kevin and everything that's going on, the losing of the rest, not the losing of the recipe, but the recipe coming out, his organization kind of coming apart a little bit. He goes back to his roots. He goes back to a place of safe haven, a place where he, felt comfortable growing up as a little boy, and even into his teenage years before all this came about. Great scene. Again, these two actors are just work. You could just tell that just the content, the great chemistry that they have working together, and that's what part. I mean, that's that was a big part of this show. A number of these characters, Franklin, Jerome, Louis, Franklin, Leon. A number of these characters have just tremendous chemistry within them, amongst themselves, and it really made help take this show to just absolute new levels from that standpoint. Best scenes, Franklin, Leon. This is the opening scene of the episode. We're coming off Franklin shooting Kevin. They're on the run. In essence, they go to the cookhouse. They go to the cookhouse to hide out. You can see the paranoia on Franklin's face, wondering, thinking about, is Kevin dead? In his mind, he probably feels Kevin is dead, though he tries to keep Leon calm by saying he shot him in the leg. Of course, we later find out that Kevin obviously died, and Leon, again, Leon is in complete panic as, just doesn't know. Like, you have two characters who are right now searching for what's going to be the next move, following this traumatic experience of one shooting their best friend, and one watching the other shoot their best friend. So this is, again, the opening scene with between Franklin and Leon. It really set the tone for the entire episode in terms of some of the strife that was between those two. There was a number of scenes with them and where they were just not on the same page, and we started a lot of finger pointing from Leon towards Franklin, and questioning him as the leader, and questioning his moves, and starting to really go back to thinking that Kevin might have been right in terms of the way Kevin was thinking, which we know it was not completely bullshit. Like, Kevin, that the move that Kevin was going to make or tried to make would have got everybody, the whole organization, taken down or killed. But at this point, Leon is operating purely on just emotion and not thinking things through. Danilo, Diego, Matt, Avi. So Avi meets the Colombians, Danilo and Diego. Now, up until this point, Teddy is not around. Up to this point, Danilo and Diego have had Matt sniffing cocaine for 2 days straight. And again, we see Matt he's coked out of his mind. Avi, of course, wants his money, and they want their money. So Danilo and Diego, of course, are holding Matt hostage until they get what they want from Teddy, as far as the deliveries and the pickups that they were making. So they both find out, the Colombians and Avi both find out that they have a similar issue in regards to Teddy. And, Avi turns this tense situation into some fun over the course of this episode in terms of partying with the Colombians and what have you. At the same time, waiting for Teddy to return so he can, in essence, get his money from Teddy McDonald or Reed Thompson, the alias. The most important part of this scene, of course, is Matt and his physical condition. Matt, the brother of Teddy, is knee deep into this world now, or actually chin deep into this world right now, and he is at a point of, he's addicted to cocaine in essence, and they have him, like I said, sniffing cocaine for 2 days straight. They have him just they have him just out of his mind, and he's barely cognizant of what's going on, somewhat cognizant, but not, but that his life, as we will see moving forward, will never be the same from this torture that they've done to him. And, at the heart of this, and we mentioned it at the top of the episode, was the decisions of Teddy McDonald to involve Matt into this. And we'll see later on in the scene, just the devastation that Teddy is feeling. It was a quick scene, a quick moment, a quick scene, but the devastation that Teddy is feeling because he knows that he is 100% responsible for the current condition of his brother, Matt. Jerome and Sissy. So in this scene, we see Jerome and Sissy come looking for Franklin. She knows that Jerome knows where Franklin is at. She obviously blames Jerome for Franklin's descent into the drug world, and basically says, "Hey, he saw you with the cars, the women, everything, and he gravitated towards it." And basically, Jerome basically says he was going to do what he was going to do regardless. And basically, he also admits to saying, "How do you think your house not only got paid for? How do you think you even had the money for the mortgage on that house initially?" And Jerome admits to paying for the house, the mortgage, the money to basically front money to get the house in the beginning, because we know Franklin has paid the house off totally. We found out a couple episodes ago, and of course Sissy was not happy about that. But the initial payment to get the house in the first place, she did not know that Jerome had made those payments. She thought that it was out, and it was out. It was Alden, but it turns out that it was Jerome. And Jerome basically says, "Hey, we all had a hand in turning Franklin to who he is. Myself, you, Alden, Louis, everybody. Like, this wasn't just, he's like, just basically don't point the finger at me. You are as big a part of this as I am, in essence." And we saw Louis in, I believe, season 1. I want to say season, I think it was it was towards the latter part of season 1. Her and Sissy got into it about a similar scene between Louis and Sissy and Jerome and Sissy, where basically you had Sissy point the finger at them and them saying, "Hey, you're his mom. You are just as responsible, if not more responsible, for where he's at or where he's going than anyone." But ultimately, Jerome was right. He told, how many warnings did he receive? Did Franklin get from Jerome not to go this far, not to get into the crack game, stick to the dime bags and the little small weed bags and things of that nature, and carve out a little nice place for yourself. Once you get to this crack cocaine game, everything's on the table, and everything comes with the money and everything. This is everything that comes with it. So Jerome basically told Sissy, like, we're all responsible for this. So you see brother and sister going at it, knowing that, and deep down that some of their decisions, again, we go back to consequences, that they are in essence dealing with the consequences of decisions that they've made over the course of Franklin's life, and realizing that they are probably the reasons, or two of the main reasons, why Franklin is in the predicament that he's in right now. Lucille, also Conjo comes up, attacks Lucille. Of course, this was revenge for him believing that Lucille was responsible for Kevin taking a shot at him and almost killing him and his daughter. who was at the park last episode. So he comes in, attacks her, kicks her in the ribs. So comes out of nowhere. They get into it. Kanjo slices Oso a couple times with a knife, with a switchblade, and this fight leads them off the balcony. Lucille is able to shoot Kanjo, but not kill him. Shoot him and wound him in the shoulder. He escapes, but you see Oso, of course, is badly wounded with the knife wounds to his chest, and also I believe he got one in the arm as well. But the one to his stomach is the one that, in essence, almost took him out. And he passes out in Lucille's arms, and that will be the last. That will be the last time that not only we see them together in the entirety of the series. That will be the last time we see Lucille, the character Lucille, Villanueva in this series in general. This would be her last appearance. She would not appear in seasons. Forget about not just the last episode, the season finale of season 2. She does not appear in seasons 3 through 6, and there were a couple of times where it was teased that she possibly could come back, but it never came to fruition. And the bottom line is, first of all, I don't believe it is a sense of her walking away from the show. She has not, looking at her IMDb, she hasn't done a lot since Snowfall. This episode season took place 2019, aired in 2018, excuse me. And she really hasn't worked a lot since then. And she's been on an episode, even in television or movies. So I don't think this is a case of her walking away. From what you read and some of the research I did, it was just a natural course of the character arc and the Villanueva arc, just in essence going away. Once we move into season 3, we're going to get into some new characters, Franklin, and we get more and more into the Franklin Teddy dynamic, and also Louis and Jerome, their stories pick up, and Oso's story goes in a different direction. So I think this probably was a case of the natural progression of this, the Villanueva situation, Villanueva story arc just going away. I mean, we saw this with The Wire in terms of the Barksdales. After season 3, the police went to another direction with Marlowe's story and what have you in the education. So, a lot of conspiracy theories over the course of why this happened. But to me, from the research I've done, it just seems like this was a case of it was a natural time to end the arc of that character, and move on from there. MVP of this episode, Franklin Saint. Again, Damson Idris was just, like the performance was a very difficult performance, because again, there's a lot of potential for overacting from an emotional standpoint, but he really tapped into the vulnerable place that Franklin's at right now. That confident, intelligent guy that we've seen him over the course of this season in particular was nowhere to be found. This was a guy who was scared, confused, hurt, and just searching for answers that he frankly did not have. And I thought Damson Idris perfectly tapped into all of that without overacting or just getting too emotional in regards to. I mean, again, these is very difficult not to play that role and not just get all carried away with the tears and what have you. There were tears, but it was a measured type, but it was a measured but yet vulnerable and emotional performance from Damson Idris in this episode. And I thought that Franklin Saint was the MVP of this particular episode in terms of just sheer performance. He was phenomenal in this episode, to say the least. So Franklin Saint gets the MVP of this episode. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast. We will be back with Education, the season 2 finale, next time. Have a great rest of your day.